Roblox The Classic Event has been out for a few days now and is about to end, so I want to get my honest thoughts on the event overall. So please subscribe and let's get into it because we got a lot to break down. Alright, and before I start ripping on the event and start hating on it, let me actually tell you what I like about the event because there are some stuff that's pretty good. Starting with the lobby, which are honestly one of the best things about the entire event, I can't even lie. At first, to be honest, I did criticize the lobby because the quests don't actually give you prizes, but now that I played through the event, the lobby is actually one of the best parts. The lobby has Easter eggs, is interactive stuff, you know, like that ticks thing, and it's like a super interactive lobby and there's so much to do. You know, built-in quests and everything. And honestly, it's one of the best lobbies I've seen for a Roblox event in just like in general. It's super good. When you compare the Hunt lobby to the Classic lobby, it doesn't even compare. Like the Hunt lobby was pure trash, but this lobby is actually pretty good. The Hunt lobby was basically useless. I mean, it showed you the games and stuff, which is fine, but besides that, nothing else was going on. But this lobby, you can spend so much time in it, and it's kind of like its own mini event in itself, you know, so much going on. And it's honestly one of my favorite parts about the entire event. And speaking of stuff that I like about the event, I do want to also say that I appreciate games like Arsenal, for example, who actually went full out with their quests and stuff like that. There is another problem with that, but I'll talk more about that later, because right now I'm trying to talk about stuff that I like. Speaking of which, I appreciate Roblox for doing less games this time. One of the biggest complaints for the Hunt event was there's too much games, which was true. It was a complete dumpster fire. They literally threw every game in the entire world in that event. And this time, they dialed it back and only did a few games, which is very good. Now, we'll pick apart the games later, because unfortunately, even though they did less games, the game selection was still kind of poor, but like I said, I'll talk about that later. But speaking of games, I think the prizes in general aren't that bad. The overall prizes aren't bad, the gold track items aren't that bad either. You don't have to spend Robux, which is a bit messed up, but still decent. And I also think that the daily items that Roblox has been doing have been a major improvement. Last time for the Hunt event, the daily items were just retextured and just kind of boring items that were stupidly expensive. And this time I think they still are retextured a little bit, but in general, some cooler items and they're way more reasonably priced, which is very good. This event overall from Roblox standpoint feels less money hungry. The Hunt just felt like a cash grab, but this one feels less of a cash grab. And also speaking of the games and stuff like that, I also appreciate how Roblox made it so you don't have to do all the games as well, I'm pretty sure, for all the prizes, which is very good. So if there are some annoying games, you could skip it. In general, also with that being said, I think the theme this time, they enforced it really well. For the Hunt event, it did kind of have a theme a little bit, but I feel like it wasn't really forced. I don't even remember what the theme is, to be honest, because it wasn't even forced at all. But for this one, it's very apparent what the theme is, and they enforce it very good. The lobby is very classic. Everything about the event's classic. The items are classic. Even the quests in the game, they made sure to have a classic aspect, which for the Hunt, they didn't really do. The Hunt, people can basically just do whatever they wanted, which led to a bunch of garbage. I mean, there was a bunch of garbage this time, but at least it's classic, you know? There is a theme at least, which is very good from Roblox. And in general, I do have to say, from Roblox's standpoint, I think they did a very good job. Taking a step back and looking at the event, a lot of the problems stem from the developers actually, which I mean, you could argue Roblox's fault too, because there still wasn't quality control. But with that being said, overall not bad, Roblox side of things. But let me move on to stuff that I hate about this event, and this is where, you know, most of the stuff comes from. And firstly, to start off lightly, I feel like the event in general should just be longer. Now, to be fair, there definitely is going to be more to this event. Like that whole ticks counting down like machine thing is going to count down to something. And also in the FAQ, I'm pretty sure they said some mysterious stuff about the event going on longer. So I think there definitely will be like a grand ending or something like that. But I still feel like 5 days is nothing. Like at least a week, you know? It just seems kind of weird to do it for that little, especially all the effort developers and stuff put into it. Also, with that being said though, I do think that their game selection was pretty poor this time once again. It's a classic Roblox event, and did we get any classic games? Not really. We got like Beanstorm Simulator, which was fine, but you know, we got stuff like Toilet Tower Defense, not classic at all. And also with that being said, speaking of game selection, I feel like Roblox also failed to do quality control this time. Now, last time I said this, a lot of people got mad at me because they said Roblox did do quality control, but it's pretty apparent that they didn't, because if they did, they wouldn't have allowed stuff like Blade Ball, for example, who just milked the heck out of this event. They squeezed every last penny out of people, you know what I mean? And that's kind of what I mean by quality control. Roblox did make sure, it seems like, that everyone enforces a theme, which is very good, you know? That's one thing that was missing from the Hunt event. However, they didn't make sure everything was like kind of similar and not too cash grabby or just bad in general. And it's kind of a major problem with dev hunts that I feel like will never get fixed. That's just something that always happens. Some developers like Arsenal, for example, put in super like a lot of effort and make their events super good, and those are games that people enjoy. But then people like Blade Ball, for example, just make their thing a cash grab and money hungry, and then that kind of ruins the event for a lot of people. And that's kind of what I'm talking about quality control. If Roblox just made sure that they're selecting good games and they make sure every game's quest is good, it literally makes this event 10 times better. And speaking of which, all this stuff opens up another problem of the timing of everything. Some games literally take you like 40 minutes to like an hour, and some games take you 5 minutes, which is good, but also kind of annoying just because you go from like, you know, spending 5 minutes in a game to then having to spend like 50 minutes in a game just to get one badge, which makes it kind of boring, especially since unlike egg hunts that used to do stuff like this, there's not a guaranteed prize at the end of all this. You have to do a few games for all the prizes, so it doesn't feel as rewarding, you know, spending 5 minutes and 50 minutes for just to get like one thing. That's kind of also annoying. Like, I've been talking about Arsenal on this video, and that's kind of a quest I was saying is very good. However, that quest took so long. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I didn't finish it. I was playing it for like 30 minutes straight, and it was still not ending. And I really appreciate what they did with that thing, but it was just going on for way too long. But then I went into stuff like Beast Simulator, and it took me 5 minutes, you know? There's no consistency at all. And this brings me on to my next problem. I really like how roles enforced the classic theme across everyone's quest. Everyone was kind of forced to make their thing classic this time, because roles made it so you have to get ticks and coins in every game. Like, that was a part of the quest. So developers had no choice but to make it classic, which is very good from Roblox, you know, enforcing that theme. However, I think Roblox making this 10 ticks thing kind of ruined the event for me. And let me explain what I'm talking about. If you aren't aware somehow, like, the whole point of the quest and stuff like that is you go around every game and collect coins and ticks, which, like I said, I think is very good for theme. However, I think it's actually ended up making the event more boring in my opinion, just because since I was kind of doing the same thing over and over again, even if the quest was kind of different, it still felt like I was just doing the same thing, and it felt kind of repetitive and boring. And it also led to some overlap between games. Like, for example, in Beast Simulator, the entire thing is you run around the map, collect 10 ticks, and you're done. And then I try and flip it, and it's the exact same thing. I run around the maps, collect 10 ticks, and I move on. You know what I mean? And that's not the fault of the developers, that's the fault of Roblox because of their rule that you have to collect 10 ticks for your quest. Which, like I said, isn't a bad thing. I think it's a cool idea because it enforces that theme. However, that kind of rule made it kind of boring for me just because I felt like I was doing the same thing over and over again. And even though some developers changed it up, it still kind of just felt like boring after some time. Because a lot of it was just running around, collecting ticks, but in just different games. Like the Beast task, in my opinion, and the Clipper task was like, it was cool idea, but I got kind of bored just running around, you know? And also, quests like that, I feel like aren't that like layered. Like Arsenal had a bunch of layers to it, for example. And I know I keep referencing it, but it's one of the best examples. Arsenal had a bunch of stuff to do, you know, a bunch of layers, very immersive. But the other ones, like Beast Simulator, you can just watch a YouTube video if you really wanted to. You're just running around the map. You're not even doing anything insane. I mean, to be fair, Beast Simulator did add some stuff like teleporting and whatever, and there was like a bit more stuff to it, but like Clip It, for example, also just did like collecting ticks, and some other games did that as well. So I think this kind of plan kind of backfired a little bit because it did enforce the theme, yes, but it also made it kind of repetitive. And due to that repetitive nature, it kind of made the event kind of boring to me in combination with the timing, because I would join one game and do the same collecting thing, and then I'd go to the next game and then collect stuff for even longer, and then I'd join another game that the quest takes even longer, you know what I mean? It was super, like, no consistency across all the games, which is another big problem. And to be fair, that's not a problem with just this event, that's a problem with every dev hunt. And in general, also, one of the biggest problems is obviously just that the pay to win and cash grab from not just Blade Ball, but a bunch of other games. Adding pay to win stuff, adding cash grab elements just makes it super annoying, and it doesn't seem fair, you know, to a lot of players who can't afford to spend that stuff. And people like Blade Ball, who just made their quests go on for longer and longer and longer, just made the event get more boring because you don't feel motivated to play anymore. You know, Blade Ball, honestly, it was one of the worst quests I think I've ever seen. I didn't even complete it. I got so sick of that game, I couldn't do it. Now, with it all being said, those are some stuff that I liked about the event, you know, some pretty good stuff, but also a lot of negatives. There's so much pros about this event, but also so much cons. And with that being said, how do I feel overall? Overall, in my opinion, I think that the Classic Roast event was not bad. It wasn't good, it wasn't amazing, but it wasn't the worst event. I would say the hunt is garbage, and this is one tier above that, so not bad. It wasn't my favorite event. I got bored really quick, I can't lie. I couldn't play for that long at a time just because of pure boredom, you know what I mean? But it was more fun than the Classic event for sure, and it wasn't bad overall, but it did kind of suck in my opinion, in the sense for all the cons I mentioned. To be fair though, like I mentioned, a lot of this did come down to developers. However, I think a lot of Roblox aspects did also kind of ruin it. And lastly, with that being said, is this event better than the hunt event? 1000%. It's miles better than the hunt event, and definitely the step in the right direction. Is it perfect though? Not even close. It's still kind of boring and does kind of suck, but we are getting better, you know what I mean? Rules did say that they are going to do more events this year, and it seems like they're listening to feedback every time. So from the hunt event, they learned a bunch of feedback and applied it to this event, and this event was not bad, so hopefully they take the feedback from this one and apply it to the next one. And if they do, then honestly the next event will be pretty good, because even though there's a lot of problems, I feel like most of the problems Roblox can fix. And I feel like if they just do a little bit more quality control and make sure like a bunch of like tiny stuff, then they can make a pretty good good event. So far though, it did kind of suck, but we definitely are stepping in a pretty good direction, I feel like. Not a bad event. I respect Rolls heavily for doing this. It was still kind of cool to see old Rolls coming back, you know. I started playing Rolls in 2012, so a lot of stuff was pretty nostalgic to me, but I did get bored really quick, you know what I mean? But like I said, no hate to anyone, no hate to the developers or anyone who worked on this event. I did find some stuff kind of annoying, but I respect everyone for putting into the effort and stuff like that. And with that being said, let me know your honest thoughts about the event so far. Let me know what you liked about it, let me know what you hated about it, and let me know your overall thoughts on it. What would you rate out of 10? I'd probably give it like a 6 or maybe a 5. It was right down the middle, kind of mid, but not the worst. I'd give the hunt like a 3 or 2, you know? But with that being said, if you enjoyed, check us out to find out all the drama going around right now with the hunt event or the classic event. I'll see you in the next one.